Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. Welcome to my video on the best new editions of board games coming out in October. This video kind of includes any game that is back on the market in some form or fashion that already existed. I include three types of games in this video. Reimplementations of older ideas, maybe they change the theme, changed a bit of the mechanisms, changed the art, sort of stuff like that. We just have straight new additions. Hey, we're just updating this game. Usually that comes with new art and better quality components. And the third type of game is like new games in an established series of games. Think the Exit series or something like that. So I got about 25 games to go through this month. As always, I hope you find something that you're excited about. All right, let's get into the games. As always, I go through these in alphabetical order of the publisher. And first up this month, 25th Century Games is releasing a bunch of new additions. First up, we have the silly game Hamster Roll. This originally came out in the year 2000, so, this has been around for a long time. It is a dexterity game, plays 2 to 4 players in 30 to 40 minutes, and it is a lightweight game. You will get a bunch of these different sized wooden blocks and things like that, and there is a giant hamster wheel, and I mean pretty big. It takes up a lot of space on the table. This comes in a decently big box because of that. But the hamster wheel has different notches in it, and you will be putting down your wooden blocks onto these notches, and it's going to make the hamster roll shift with the weight that is on it. And anytime you knock off pieces or it shifts enough that pieces come off, you take those pieces, and you're just trying to be the first to get rid of all your pieces, to put all of your pieces on the hamster roll. So if you want something that's big, physical, silly, stuff like that, then check out Hamster Roll. It definitely is a good late night game for some laughs. I've played it at conventions sort of late at night and had a good time with it. 25th Century Games is also releasing a new edition of Sausage Sizzle. This originally came out in 2012. Plays 2 to 5 players in about 15 minutes, and it is a lightweight game. This is a push your luck dice rolling game. So if you're a fan of games like Zombie Dice or Chicken, things like that, this Sausage Sizzle kind of fits right into that same wheelhouse, into that same hamster wheel, if you will. Ho, ho, ho. But in the game, there are a bunch of set of dice, and the dice have different animals on different sides, and so you are playing through a number of rounds, but you can only score for one animal twice. You have these, once. You have these little tokens, and so when you decide, I'm gonna score, the crocodile this round, I'm going to flip my crocodile token over, and now I can't score crocodiles again. And so, there is a push your luck element, a gambling element of what you're trying to go for. Also, if you get a sausage is just worth 1 point, and 1 point isn't that great in the game. But if you can get a bunch of sausages, if you can get all 4 of your food dice showing sausages, then you get 7 points. So there's a push your luck element there of I'm trying to roll for sausages right now. Why it's called Sausage Sizzle. So yeah, if you like little dice rolling games, then Sausage Sizzle is a fun one. 25th Century Games is also releasing Jalapeno, but not no, Jalapeno. Because this is a trick-taking game where you are trying to have the least points, and one of the ways you're doing that is trying not to get spicy peppers in your hand. This originally came out in 1998, so been around for a while. 3 to 9 players, plays in about 45 minutes, and it is a lightweight card game. And as I mentioned, it's a trick-taking game, but this sort of twist of this trick-taking game is that you don't want tricks, and especially you don't want peppers, because every pepper you have at the end of a trick is worth 2 points. and after the final round, the person with the lowest score wins. Whereas a lot of cards, regular cards, are only worth 1 point. So peppers are, especially bad, which is why the game is called Jalapen-No, because you don't want those spicy peppers. 25th Century Games is also releasing the second edition of Run, Run, Run. This plays 1 to 4 players in 30 minutes, and it is a lighter weight game, but maybe a little bit on the higher end of lightweight compared to the last few games I was talking about from them. And this one, Run, 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 actually is a fairly recent game, only came out a few years ago, and so 25th Century is doing a new edition of it. And, 25th Century always has really good components in their games, and so I imagine one of the reasons to do this new edition is just nicer components and things like that. This is a game from famous designer Bruno Catala, so if you are a Bruno Catala fan, then that's a reason to check this out. It is a cooperative game. You are called cat venturers instead of adventurers, you're cat venturers. Hey, that's fun. And you are trying to prevent the dog monies from touching the treasure and the relics of Tutankhamun. And so the way you're doing that is you are adding down tiles to the sort of shared play area. And if you add the same type of tiles, you'll get a benefit. If you add different types of tiles, you're getting benefits. And so you are just sort of building out this area of tiles. And then these mummies will be sort of waking up and coming onto the board. And so you're trying to prevent them from getting to the tile that has the treasure on it. That's like the main objective. And so you're sort of running around the board trying to prevent them, which is why it's called Run, Run, Run. And then you can fight the mummies if you're on the same space as them, so you're trying to eliminate the mummies, and then that'll help you lift the curse in this pyramid. So yeah, if you like lighter cooperative games, then check out Run, Run, Run. Arcane Wonders is releasing a new version of the card game Vegetable Stock. This originally came out in 2019, but is having a new version right now. Plays 2 to 6 players in 15 to 20 minutes, and it is a lightweight card game. It originally came out as a game called Small Farmer, and it's a, simple card game about economics. You will have cards sort of out in the display, and everybody will be drafting one of those cards, taking one of those cards. Whichever card is left, because there's always one more than player count, there is a number of vegetables shown on that card. And whatever is left will bump up the price of those vegetables. Those types of vegetables that are shown on that leftover card will become more valuable and determine how many points they're worth at the end of the game. However, if they get to the top of their track and they're left over, then the market crashes and will reset to the bottom. So you are trying to manipulate the market so that the vegetables you have that you have drafted are worth the most amount of points at the end of the game. So just a light card game, but with some interesting mechanisms about manipulating the market for the different vegetables. Asmodee, in association with Repos Production, is releasing the Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. This is a re-implementation of Seven Wonders Duel, given the Lord of the Rings IP on top of it. It's a 2-player only game, plays in 30 to 45 minutes, and it is a medium weight game, but maybe on the lighter end of medium weight game. I will say I have played this one a bunch. I've been playing this one a bunch. I do a top 5 games of the month every month, and for September, Lord of the Rings Duel was my number 1 game of September. And Seven Wonders Duel is in my top 5 2-player games of all time. And, this does it really well. It re-implements the Seven Wonders Duel game really well and does really well with the IP. So, for instance, in the game Seven Wonders Wonders Duel, the military track is a bit abstract. It's just sort of a track that you're moving back and forth on. Well, now, instead of that, there is a board with different places from Middle-earth, and you are trying to take over control of different places. And one of the win conditions is if you have troops in sort of all 7 places on the board, you win. And that just makes it sort of feel more tangible than the sort of abstract military track. I've got troops on a map and I'm taking over different stuff, you know. One of the other ways to win is there's this really cool slider, and you are, you know, Sam and Frodo are trying to get to Mount Doom, and a bad guy is trying to catch them, and so whoever does that first can accomplish it. So it's still the same stuff as Seven Wonders Duel, where you are drafting cards in a unique setup, and then those cards are each going to get you special abilities. But I think they did a great job with the IP implementing it into the game. You know, some people have asked me, is this one better than Seven Wonders Duel? And it's hard for me to say. I love Seven Wonders Duel a lot, and so there's a nostalgia factor because that was a game that I started playing probably early on in my board game journey. I will say this does a great job with the IP. So if you like Lord of the Rings, you are going to like this more than Seven Wonders Duel. And it is just as good of a game. Like, I would put them on equal. It's just, you know, this one has nostalgia factor. And this one does make, you know, it made it maybe more accessible in some ways. Like there is because of the IP and stuff like that, there just is it's easier to wrap your head around maybe than Seven Wonders Duel. So it's really great. If you're looking for a 2-player only game, the Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth is a great game. Next up, we have Asmodee and Space Cowboys are releasing a number of new Unlock games. In fact, there are 3 Unlock short adventures, and I'll talk about them one by one. Unlock short adventures, Red Mask, plays 1 to 6 players in 30 to 60 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. The whole idea of Unlock short adventures is they are smaller boxes. They can fit into your pocket or something like that. They are one case, single case. A normal game of Unlock has 3 different cases in them, and the whole idea of this is it's supposed to be Unlock in a smaller format, in a shorter format. A case will take you 30 to 45 minutes, whereas in the normal Unlock, you know, some of them could take like 2 hours or something like that. So this is, you know, the ideal version of Unlock to like throw in a jacket pocket and take wherever with you instead of the big box version of it. You know, all the Unlock games are sort of escape room style puzzle solving games. You're going to need to solve puzzles along the way to figure out the mystery, to figure out the story. Thematically, this version, Red Mask, you are becoming a masked vigilante in Mexico in 1811 to free an imprisoned friend. So, yeah, if you want a shorter version, or if you like that theme, check out Unlock Short 7 Red Mask. Next up, we have Unlock Short Adventures Schrodinger's Cat. That's always so hard to say. Schrodinger's Cat. 1 to 6 players, 30 to 60 minutes, medium weight game. Again, same Unlock, short adventures, disclaimer, shorter, sort of more accessible version of it. This one, the theme is dive in a crazy universe and help Mr. Schrodinger to find his cat back. And then lastly, in the short series, we have Unlock Short 9, the Birmingham Murder. 1 to 6 players, 30 to 60 minutes, medium weight. The theme of this one is investigate Birmingham's underworld in 1920. So you got a lot of options for shorter versions of the Unlock games. And then also, Asmodee and Space Cow are releasing Unlock Kids Legendary Stories. So these Unlock Kids versions are These are the bigger box version with the 3 cases in it, but they're designed for families and for kids, a little bit more accessible. Plays 1 to 4 players in about 20 minutes per case in the box. And they say plays ages 6 and up. While the regular unlocks I would certainly call family games, like they're not like crazy dark themes or any of that sort of stuff. The puzzles can be hard to solve, and so they work for more teenager and up, I suppose. Unlock Kids works for younger kids, as they note, with ages 6 and up. So I don't know if I mentioned these are all cooperative games and stuff like that. So you're working together to solve the puzzle, to figure out the mystery. They're sort of escape room style games. This Unlock Kids does come with 3 cases in it. We have Discover the Legend of the Sacred Baobab and Restore Rain to Dried Up Villages in the Heartland of Africa. The second case is Solve the Mysteries of Chichen Itza and Discover the Mythical Ball Game. And then third, Voyage to Olympus, Encounter Legendary Creatures and Discover the Mythical Greek Gods. So legendary stories, if you want to learn about these cool places from around the world and stuff with your kids, then check out Unlock Kids Legendary Stories. Bezier Games is releasing the 2nd edition of the game Rebel Princess. This plays 3 to 6 players in about 45 minutes, and it is a lighter weight game to maybe on the edge of, lighter medium weight. This is a trick-taking game based on the classic game Hearts. So if you are a fan of trick-taking games or just classic card games, that might be a reason to check this one out. Thematically, it's pretty fun. You are playing as a princess and you are trying to avoid marriage proposals and remain single and independent at the end of the game. And so you are a rebel princess trying to not have a Prince Charming. You can do this on your own. You don't need a Prince Charming. The Prince Charmings who have not been invited will try to infiltrate the ball and propose marriage to the girls. And so if you get a Prince Charming in your trick, you might win a Prince Charming by winning a trick. That's bad. You don't want to do that. The player with the fewest marriage proposals after 5 rounds wins the game. I do love the art and stuff like that in this game as well. So if you like trick-taking games or you like that theme, check out the 2nd edition of Rebel Princess. Burnt Island Games, in association with Grand Gamers Guild, is releasing Endeavor Deep Sea. This plays 1 to 4 players in 60 to 120 minutes, and it is a solidly medium weight game. This is a re-implementation of Endeavor Age of Sail from the same designers and stuff like that. Endeavor Age of Sail is a game that mechanically a lot of people loved, but thematically was problematic, and some people didn't want to play it because of the sort of thematic elements in the game. And so this is, taking some of the mechanisms and stuff from Endeavor Age of Sail and putting it in a more modern period without any, thematic elements that might be upsetting. And so, whereas Endeavor Age of Sail was, sort of set hundreds of years ago, this is set in modern days, and you are playing as scientists heading up a research institute. And, your goal is to develop sustainable projects and preserve the fragile balance of marine life. Throughout the game, you'll recruit field experts and use their abilities to explore new locations, research dive sites, publish critical ecological papers, and launch conservation efforts. So, medium weight game, there's a lot of different ways to do stuff in the game. You'll be moving some workers around and doing stuff like that. And getting different benefits, but you don't have to worry about thematic stuff you don't want to play in this. So the set in the new era of nautical discovery. Flat River Games, in association with Pop House Collective, is releasing the game It's Kind of a Fun Story, family edition. And I will say, I have played It's Kind of a Fun Story a lot of times. And when I think of storytelling games, it is the best one out there that I have played. I really like It's Kind of a Fun Story because they have great cards, great prompts, but the game also does a really good job of sort of mixing up the rounds so not every round feels the same, and it does a good job of like creating a safe space. Like you have nope cards. If a question comes up that makes you feel uncomfortable, you can easily nope it and then everybody needs to move on. There is a bit of one-upsmanship in the game. If you get a prompt and it's like, tell the best story of you getting in trouble with authority, and you tell a story, someone can be like, well, I have a better story, and play a card and then also, tell a story. So it's a great way to get to know people. It's a great way, I've played it with my family, and I learned stuff about my siblings that I didn't know before, I've played it with strangers, and it was a good icebreaker to get to know them a little bit. It plays 3 to 10 players in 30 to 45 minutes, and it is a lightweight game. And, I will say, the original the original game, wasn't wildly adult or anything like that, but they're, describe getting arrested or, describe when you lost your virginity, or it might have something like that. This family edition is going to be appropriate for all ages. You're not going to worry about some of the prompts that might come up. So same gameplay, same great storytelling, prompts and stuff like that, just, appropriate for the whole family now. Flat River Games, in association with Yellow, is releasing Guilty Monaco 1955. Plays 1 to 99 players in 180 to 240 minutes, and it is a sort of lighter medium weight game. They have had this Guilty series. I think maybe this is like the third one in the Guilty series, but this is also a sort of escape room, mystery solving, puzzle solving game. You have to use deduction and stuff like that. This one is maybe less escape room and more sort of like Sherlock Holmesy deduction, figuring it out. They even say if you have the soul of a detective and are looking for a challenging gaming experience, then Guilty is for you. So if you want to be an investigator and all that sort of stuff, then this one is great for that. So you are immersing yourself in the dark and fascinating world of the game series that reinvents the interactive detective story. So you're gonna, follow up on leads and figure out the lies and figure out the clues and use your deduction skills to figure out the mystery. Flat River Games, in association with Yellow, is also releasing King of Tokyo Duel. This is a 2-player only version of the game King of Tokyo, plays in 20 to 30 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. I will say, personally, I've played this one a lot, and it is my favorite game in the King of Tokyo series. And part of that is it adds a little bit more strategy and a little bit more in the way of paths to victory than a normal King of Tokyo game. That being said, King of Tokyo is a great game for introducing new people to the hobby, and this one is, a little bit more complicated than just the normal King of Tokyo game. So know that going in. One of the things that it does differently than any other King of Tokyo game is it has this board with these two sort of trackers on it, 2 tracks, and so you can be getting symbols on dice and moving the trackers on the track. I feel like I'm saying track too many times right here. I don't know what else to say. But, there's a tug of war where you are moving things to your side or not. And so, as with any normal King of Tokyo game, one of the ways to win is to eliminate your opponent. You can be fighting them and taking their life down, and you can knock them out that way and win the game. But you can also move these things along the track. If you can get both of them to your side into a spotlight zone, you win. Or if you can get one of them all the way to the end of the track, you can also win that way. So I feel like having those different paths to victory. That's one of the things that just general Duel games have been doing recently, is like, adding more paths to victory. And I think it makes it more interesting, and it makes it more replayable, because you're going to do different things in different games based on sort of which strategy is presenting itself to you. So yeah, it's really cool. Flat River Games, in association with Sit Down Games, is releasing Magic Maze Tower. This is a reimplementation of the game Magic Maze. Plays 1 to 4 players in 20 to 40 minutes, and it is a lighter weight game. Magic Maze was a sort of frantic real-time game where you couldn't talk at all. And you were moving these pawns around a board and trying to get them to their home spots and stuff like that. You were trying to get them to specific places, but there was a big timer and you couldn't talk. And the other interesting thing about it is only certain players could move pawns in certain directions. So if you were playing a 4-player game, each of you has one direction. So I can move it here, and now I'm waiting for somebody to move it up because I can't move it in that direction. So this maintains some of the same stuff of the original Magic Maze, but not everything. So for instance, you still have that thing where you can only move in certain directions. If you're playing in a 2-player game, you'll both have 2 directions that you can move in. And so you are still working together to move the pawns, and you can't move all directions at once. However, this one no longer has the timer, so it's not as frantic real time as the original Magic Maze. You can, take your time a little bit more to figure out the puzzle and solve the stuff. So you are still trying to move pawns around this maze and get them to specific spots, but you have a little bit more time to do it. The reason it is called Magic Maze Tower is not because you're building a tower, but because you are sort of unlocking levels in the game. You are going to play through a level, and then if you beat that, you go to the next level, you go to the next level, you go to the next level, and levels will be, becoming more and more complicated and giving you more puzzles to figure out and solve and sort of that. So it is a cooperative game where you are just trying to figure out how to move these pawns around this maze, and level it up for sure. Cosmos is releasing Masters of Crime Rapture. This plays 1 to 6 players in 150 to 210 minutes, and it is a lighter medium weight game. The Masters of Crime series, I believe this is the 3rd one in the Masters of Crime series that have come out this year, and the whole idea of it is they are sort of, deduction, murder, mystery types of games, but you are playing as seedy characters in the Masters of Crime. They released one where you were playing as a mob boss and stuff like that. So the whole idea is like, you're not the police detective, you're not the good guys, you are playing as the bad guys trying to figure out a mystery. So in this one, thematically, you are trying to figure out what's happened to superstar Diana to keep the police off your back. And why do you want to keep the police off your back? Because you are drug people. You are a drug cartel on this island, and you don't want this singer's death to attract unwanted attention to your drug cartel that is operating and controlling this island. So yeah, we've got a few different sort of puzzle solving, mystery solving game options this month. So if you want to follow clues, make decisions to solve a case, but you want to do it as a bad guy, then check out Masters of Crime. Lucky Duck Games is releasing Tranquility, the Ascent. This plays 1 to 5 players in 15 to 30 minutes, and it is a lighter weight cooperative game. This one had a crowdfunding campaign that was a real saga at one point. The game that was the publisher that was originally supposed to publish this game folded and told everybody that it would never be fulfilled. Well, then Lucky Duck sort of jumped on board and is fulfilling the campaign and also releasing it to retail. So a game that seemed like it wasn't going to happen for a while is now happening a long time later. So Tranquility the Ascent re-implements the game Tranquility. It is a cooperative card-playing, puzzly game. In the original Tranquility, you were just playing out cards sort of in a grid. In this one, you are building a mountain. So you are playing cards and then, putting cards on higher levels, and they need to be supported by cards underneath. It is a real puzzly game for sure, and it is a game that comes with a real challenge. If you want a cooperative game that is a challenge, I think I've played Tranquility the Ascent 3 or 4 times, and I've gotten very close, but I've never won. I feel like I've gotten right down to the last bit because you are playing cards, and then you need to play cards next to other cards, and the gap between the 2 cards that have been played requires you to discard cards out of your hand. So ideally, you're playing a 3 here and then a 3 next to it, or a 3 and a 4. You're not playing a 3 and a 7 because you're going to burn through cards too fast. And if you run out of cards, the game's over. And so you really do have to puzzle it out and put down the right stuff. I do think there is a luck element to the game of you need a good draw, you need a good pull, or else you're screwed. But, if you want a small box, and it really is very small box, challenge of a cooperative game, then check out Tranquility the Ascent. Pegasus Spiele is releasing Dorf Romantik Sakura. Dorf Romantik won the Spiel des Jahres a few years ago, 2023 actually, I think. And so it's a solid family weight cooperative game. Plays 1 to 6 players, 30 to 90 minutes, and it is a lighter weight game. In the original game, you're putting down tiles and sort of, there was a campaign aspect of it. You were all putting down tiles and sort of building out this communal kingdom area, but then the way you did it and the points you scored unlocked new content and new stuff, and then you played through multiple different boxes to unlock. So this, sets the game in the idyllic landscape of Japan. It includes many new challenges. Sakura is the Japanese word for cherry blossom, which comes into the game as a new element. In addition, there are now more than 40 achievements from 6 boxes to unlock. So there's a lot more content, a lot more challenges, and there aren't that many. I feel like a lot of campaign games are more complicated. They are more medium weight to heavyweight games. There's not a lot of family options for campaign games. So if you're looking for that sort of stuff, then check out Dorf Romantik Sakura. Pegasus Spiele is also releasing a new version of the game Witness. This is Witness on the Trail of the Chameleon. The game Witness came out about a decade ago, and this is a new version of it. Plays 4 players exactly, and only 4 players exactly, so know that going in. Plays in about 10 to 25 minutes, and it is a lighter weight game. It's sort of adding the classic game Telephone, where you're whispering stuff to other people, into a more strategic game. And so you need exactly 4 people, as I mentioned, and you are playing as members of the secret witness agency organization. And you are trying to solve a case. You're trying to solve a mystery. But each team member receives their own secret clues, and you are having to whisper those clues to other players. And eventually, you might have a card or something like that that gives you a piece of information, and then you're whispering it, but then they're having to whisper it to somebody else, and they're having to whisper it to somebody else. And so there is an element of remembering what you've heard, remembering the clues, making sure that you heard them correctly, all of that sort of stuff. And so at the end, you are having to answer some questions based on the clues that you've heard whispered to you, and you're only going to get points if you answer those questions correctly. So, it's a kind of an interesting way to do a detective game, and an interesting way to make, sort of that telephone game into a strategic thing. There are 8 individual cases in this version of the game woven into an overarching story. So yeah, there's some replayability there with the different cases. R&R Games is releasing Rajas of the Ganges Cards and Karma. This plays 2 to 4 players in 30 to 45 minutes, and it is a medium weight game, though maybe on the lighter end of medium weight. This is a re-implementation of the game Rajas of the Ganges, and it's sort of making it the card game, the card version of Rajas of the Ganges. I feel like a lot of games have done that in the recent past, where you put out a card version of it. I'm thinking of like Terraforming Mars, Ares Expeditions, or things like that. Rajas of the Ganges is a bigger, medium weight, but a bigger box worker placement game. You're going all over the board with your workers, but then it had some dice that you could use to pay for stuff and things like that. There was a dice element to the game. This gets rid of the worker placement, this gets rid of the dice, and it's just the card version of the game. Every card is, or maybe not every card, but you are competing for double-sided cards. On one side of the card, it shows buildings, goods, ships, or palace actions, and on the other side, there's a colored die value. And so you are competing for those and then using them how you want to use them. They are multi-use cards. So if you get 3 cards of one type, you must swap them for workers. Workers are multifunctional and useful. You don't always want to get rid of your cards though, and so there's a timing aspect of when you get what you want to get and stuff like that. The first player to turn over all 6 target cards one by one through fame or money wins the game. Renegade Game Studios is releasing Aquire 60th Anniversary Edition. So this plays 2 to 6 players in 90 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. Happy 60th birthday, Aquire. Aquire is sort of Sid Sackson's maybe most famous game, and has obviously been around for a very, very long time. In the game of Aquire, you are buying stock in different corporations that are sort of taking over the board. And when 2 companies meet, their buildings meet, one's going to take over the other and make the stock price go up and make the value of the cards you have in that. So you're sort of, you're putting down buildings on the board, but none of them are your buildings. You're buying stock in the different buildings. And it's pretty cutthroat. Like, stuff takes over other stuff all the time in the game. So what does this sort of 60th anniversary version of the game have different than others? There are deluxe themed weighted poker style money chips in this version. There is an Aquire themed drawstring tile bag, removable stock and HQ tray, which functions as both a storage solution and an in-game tray for easy in-game access to stocks and HQ buildings, and it reintroduces the Player Powers game variant, which hasn't been seen in an English printing of Aquire since 1995. So mostly deluxe, components and stuff like that, but also this new game variant to play with Player Powers. So if you're a fan of Aquire, check that out. Renegade Game Studios is also releasing a new edition of the game Vegas Showdown. Vegas Showdown came out about 20 years ago. Plays 3 to 5 players in 75 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. Vegas Showdown is a game where you are bidding for different tiles and then using those tiles to build up your casino. You're adding, you have your own player area and you're adding different tiles in a sort of tile laying game and puzzling out how you're putting different rooms in your casino. You want paths between certain rooms. You want things to connect in different ways. And so, you are giving up money to bid for the different rooms, but sometimes you have something that you need, you know what I mean? So if you want to build up a casino, this version, this new edition from Renegade Game Studios, is the same great gameplay. It's got all the same mechanisms, but it's got all new art and graphic design, so just makes it look better, makes it look prettier, makes it look fancier for the modern era. And so the builder with the most famous hotel casino wins at the end of the game. Build up your hotel casino. Restoration Games is releasing Crossbows and Catapults Fortress War. This is a two-player only game where you are launching stuff at each other, trying to knock over your castle and that sort of stuff. So, you know, it came out, Crossbows and Catapults came out in 1983, so this is a new version of a very old game that a lot of people grew up on. And so you have different, you know, sort of building blocks. So some of the fun of the game is sort of building your castle in different ways. You also have different weapon types, you know. I mean, obviously there's catapults and crossbows based on the name, but there's other stuff that you can add into the game and stuff like that. And so, you know, I'm just talking about the sort of regular version, but there are definitely add-ons where you can add in different objects and types of things and stuff like that. So, you know, one of the things they've talked about in this is that they did a bunch of work to sort of completely re-engineer the stuff from the original games to make sure it all works well. You will be launching stuff at each other for sure. So if you like, you know, this is definitely one that can play all ages and stuff like that. They say it plays ages 7 and up, but and it plays in 20 to 40 minutes. But it's definitely a real silly game where you're just sort of launching stuff back and forth, trying to knock each other's castle down. Steve Jackson Games is releasing Munchkin Shadowrun. This plays 3 to 6 players in 60 to 120 minutes, and it is a higher lightweight game. You know, this is sort of maintains the chaos and the art style and stuff like that of Munchkin. If you don't know Munchkin, it is a lightweight card game, take that card game where you're like attacking each other all of the time. And so this one has the same like art and characters and things like that from a Munchkin game, but it's not just an expansion. It is a sort of new version that adds a board element to the game. There is a new matrix track which gives players a whole new way to hack their way to victory. And so, yeah, it was created in collaboration with Catalyst Game Labs. You know, it's Munchkin entering the world of Shadowrun. So a new way to play Munchkin here with a little bit more of an actual board game element to it. All right, last up for this month, we have Star Trek Star Realms from Wise Wizard Games and UVS Games. This is essentially a Star Trek version of the game Star Realms. Plays 2 to 4 players, though Star Realms really meant as a 2-player game, but, you know, take that as you will. Plays 2 to 4 players in 20 minutes, and it is a, you know, maybe higher end of lightweight or low end of medium weight. Star Realms is a classic deck building game where you are buying cards from a market, building up your deck, and attacking your opponent. Well, this obviously adds Star Trek on top of that. So you are not just building a random deck, you're building your fleet. There's Romulans, Klingons, Dominion, Federation ships are yours to command. Play head-to-head or up to 4 players in multiplayer modes. If you're a huge fan of Star Trek, or if you like sort of classic deck building games, then Star Trek Star Realms might be for you. So that's what I got for you this month. That was 26 new editions coming to retail in October 2024. So thanks so much for being here. As always, I hope you found something that you're excited about. You're welcome to check out my Patreon, patreon.com/GrantsGameRex, and also check out my new game that's coming out November 15th. I'm Kind of a Big Dill, a social party game. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you all.